welcome to the EU Open Mic. This is our dedicated call for our partners over in the UK and Europe at a more friendly time zone than 8 p.m. on a Friday evening when we have our North American one. So thanks for everyone who's joining live, and hello to everyone who's watching the recording in the near future. We host this call for you guys to get together and connect with other Rewst partners, to ask questions, to learn about some of the things that we've been doing internally at Rewst, some of the new features and functionality that you as our partners have access to, as well as a sneak peek as to what is coming down the pipe in terms of new releases. The other big thing we want to call out is our Discord community. So most of the folks here are on Discord. If you're not, get on Discord. That is where our community lives, where folks are constantly asking questions, answering questions, exchanging informations, and posting the occasional meme as well. So Aaron always says there's 0 MSPs that have been successful who have never asked a question. We're big into asking questions, so that goes on for this call as well. If you have any questions about anything you're seeing from any of the presenters today, feel free to drop it in the chat or just click that raise hand button on Teams and ask a question. But that's it for our brief intro. Leia, I'm going to kick it over to you straight away. You've got a little something to show us. So first of all, thanks so much for taking the time to volunteer and show us something. Before we jump into the kind of canvas in your workflow, I always like to just spend a few minutes just kind of doing a bit of an intro, getting to know who you are, where you're from, what's your background, and what's your automation story so far.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Leia. I'm the help desk manager here at Pisces.net. So we're a MSP, small to medium MSP in South Wales in the UK here. So we're looking after about 200 customers, about 3,000 endpoints, and we've only been with Rewst about 6 months. So we were in the process of scaling customers more quickly than we were managing to scale staff. And we were also one of the key things that we were also hoping to win on was kind of consistency of things, because like most MSPs, we get a lot of new user requests, joiners, movers, leavers, those sorts of things, which are not only time consuming, and nobody becomes an IT engineer because they want to do new user requests all day, but as well as the time consuming nature of them, they were often kind of slightly inconsistently done. Even with checklists being automatically added to tickets, they were kind of, sometimes things were missed, things like that. So that's what we were hoping to achieve. So we've started by putting on a lot of the default crates around on and offboarding, lots of 365 management stuff. We're using those fairly consistently. So the one I was going to talk about is the first one I've kind of written from scratch. So I'm not coming from a coding background, except in as much I did it back in uni when we did a coding module on the IT kind of strand. I came up through the apprenticeship route as an IT engineer, and at the moment I'm the help desk manager here. My background in writing automations has just been really mucking about with things like Flow, Power Automate, I call it now, and if this then that, and just things like that to try and bodge things together. So having a platform like this that integrates directly into all our platforms is quite useful. We're using primarily a Clea stack, so that's IT Glue for our documentation platform, Autotask for tickets, and Data RMM for RMM. So those are the 3 things which are kind of pulling together here.
And Leia, just interesting that you kind of mentioned with your background or your current role as more of like the help desk manager. So that's kind of the keeper of processes at a lot of MSPs, right? And mentioning as well, not a coding background. How have you found you yourself using Rewst in the first 6 months in terms of getting those crates unpacked, and what have been some of the low-hanging fruit, key learnings for you specifically?
So,
and any advice?
Yeah, so definitely maximum use of the crates for starters. So the 365 stack in particular, if you're using 365, like all of the quick wins are there. Shared mailbox delegations, calendar permissions, on and offboarding obviously is a big one, password resets, MFA resets. So all of those kind of administrative things have been really good and quick wins. the only little changes, the first little changes where I actually started looking at the Ginger were things like when I was slightly customizing some of them to alter things like what category they saved them under, or what queue, what board they dropped them onto, and things like that, particularly with the tickets that we're raising, like things that we maybe hadn't even been working before because we didn't have time, like devices that hadn't been seen online in a long while. We sort of always had the intention to have people look at those when they had time between their reactive tickets, but of course that often doesn't arise. So yeah, so I did some little tweaks to the Ginger on specific small things like that. I say I'm not from a coding background. I've done a similar amount of PowerShell and batch scripts to any engineer in terms of that, but it's not been directly automation or coding focused. It's always been a case of take a script that exists, read through it, see if you can work out what it does, and if you need to make small changes for your own environment, do it. So that's the angle that I've primarily come at it from.
Fantastic. Okay, well, tell us a little bit more about what you're going to show us today. What was kind of the rationale for it, and then yeah, feel free to share your screen and take us through what you've been building.
Yeah, so one of our focuses, in addition to this kind of efficiency push and this process push, is obviously in parallel to that, the other big priority is cybersecurity. So we recently implemented a change to the way that we verify user identity, so we know we're really talking to the people we say that we're talking to. So customer calls up cold, wanting a password reset, wanting a permissions change. We have a work process flow, a human process flow, whereby we put the ticket into a waiting for approval state until we're confident we're talking to the right person. We then verify that person's identity. Historically, it's been by calling them back on a number we know belongs to them, things like that, rather than just accepting an email coming in cold. We've recently implemented a new tool called MSP Process, which sits as a widget on our ticketing platform and will send an SMS message to the user or an authenticator app beep, so that we can verify them, kind of like 2FA, so we know we're definitely talking to them. And I wanted to audit how well what the uptake of that was like. So what I wanted to do was capture into a table of some kind that I could use as a basis of audit all of the tickets that had passed through the waiting approval status. Now, obviously, that's kind of a transient thing. So just pulling a list of tickets that are currently in that status wouldn't get me all the data. Autotask does save all of those changes to the statuses in the ticket history, but that's not easily queryable either. So what I thought I would do, sort of as a learning curve with Rewst as well, but also as a genuinely useful thing to me, was write a workflow to do that. So it would look at the webhook, it would monitor for changes to the status of a ticket. If that change was now it's in waiting for approval, then it would kick off the workflow and capture some basic details about that ticket, write it to a database, and then I could query that database when planning the audits. So if I go ahead and share this out. Moment while my computer decides which screen is in fact screen 1 that I'm going to share from. There we go. So I was starting pretty much from scratch, as I say, with writing the code. I did the automation basics, automation foundations, something like that, course. So I was familiar with the concepts around Ginger, and having played with things like if this then that and flow, sort of the idea of branching paths and things was okay. May or may not also be influenced by the odd choose your own adventure game when I was learning to code and mucking about with things, but as a teenager. But in any case, this is what I ended up doing. So the first thing, and I spent quite a bit of time in the trigger setting. So the trigger obviously is off the webhook, looking at Autotask. It's monitoring the changes, so either a new one, so it's perfectly possible to create a ticket in the waiting approval status if you can see straight away what it is, or if it changes to that partway through a ticket. The trigger field, I was just showing the actual number of it now, but that trigger field is in fact the status field. So it's looking at the status field, and then it's passing a bunch of other fields, which are things like resource ID, ticket number, date created, ticket title, and the engineer assigned, which it calls the primary resource in our particular system. One thing which was super useful to me that I used a lot when I was trying to figure out which of these fields I was interested in and what the actual data was being passed was this trigger criteria tool, because that field status equals 13. That 13 is just a digit which is not visible to you anywhere in Autotask that I could find. So I had to use the test trigger criteria here. So I was looking at all the tickets coming in as they were coming in. I ended up creating a test ticket, setting it into the status that I was interested in monitoring, so I could see what number Autotask actually considered that status to be, because the status just comes back as an ID, not as an actual words. So that was that. I've been using that quite a lot on other workflows where I've been learning how to do it as well, just to understand a little bit better what format the data gets passed across in, so that when I'm referring to things like fields, dot, issue type, whatever, I know where I'm about when I'm building out the variables. So to test that bit, I was very much testing incrementally as I was going along. So the very first thing I did, it just had this get the resource ID and then email it to me. So I literally just had the capture the resource ID and then skip it all the way to the bottom, send that resource ID to me. So I knew that at least the trigger was working. So knowing that I wanted to then send it out to a SQL database, I knew that at some point I'd have to construct the form, the format of the SQL query to pass. I did not know how to use Azure SQL when I started this. I posted in the Discord, said, where should I be saving this data if I want to save it external to Rewst? Azure SQL came back the answer, oh crikey, now I've got to learn how to use that. So I stood up it's basically under a 3 minutes allowance, which will become relevant a little later. But I did a basic one. It's obvious from the design of that database that it's the first time I've done it. So if I were going to do this again, I would probably do it slightly differently. But for the moment, it works. So we got the resource ID, then, which is here, grabbed that, called it resource details, captured all the information about the resource. The only particular bit of information about that resource I'm actually interested in is the first name. And initially this was just first name, surname, which was great until I had an engineer, Gary O'Connor, and learning SQL as I went, the quote mark in that escaped my SQL query halfway through and it all stopped. So one of the things I had in my initial email when I was emailing this data to myself, I was just emailing the full SQL error message each time. So I was kind of troubleshooting after each step and then sort of working out what I needed to do to fix it. So the current version deals with any single quotes, turns them into double quotes so that when one of them gets escaped, I've still got a working one. Build out the actual name because I do want first name and surname just in the same field. This is a really simple database. I've only got half a dozen engineers I'm trying to audit. It's fine. This little bit of branching here is a side effect of the fact that I'm using just a 3 minutes, really basic database that goes to sleep if you don't use it for a while. And it wasn't waking up quickly enough to write my row. We don't get a huge quantity of these tickets per day, and the database was going to sleep in between, and the delay in it waking up was preventing my rows from getting thing. So I experimented with altering the timeout delays on it, and I'm absolutely open to neater ways of doing this, like because I'm aware that this is a workaround. So what I ended up doing was firing a really simple query at it, just saying, tell me what tables you have, which was enough to wake it up. If that query succeeded, then great, it meant it was already awake and I could go ahead and add my data. If that query failed, it meant it was asleep, but the fact I'd fired a query at it has now woken it up. So I just wait a moment and then add my row. Aware that that's a bit of a workaround, open to ideas, or at some point if this data set becomes big enough, I guess we'll get some paid for time on that database. In any case, once that's there, I write my row. So this took me quite a few goes getting this tidy, but then it's just straightforward. So this is another integration which I didn't have installed and had to install. This is the SQL query then, which talks to this approval tickets database. So I've got my query inserting a bit of data. I did have some apprehension about whether the date would spit out from Autotask in a format that wasn't going to be the date format that SQL was expecting, but that didn't turn out to be a problem, happily. So it fires off the query, and then if it fails, only if it fails, then it sends an email to me going, tried, failed. So approving tracker workload failed, and then I've got a little bit of syntax and ginger here to do it. So ticket, whatever the ticket number was back at the beginning, changed to waiting approval status, but it failed to log. And then in the body of the email, then I've captured what data should have gone in, and then the error message. So the row outcome there, that's the output of this here. So if this fails, it's going to write the SQL error message into it, and then I'll have a proper error message to work with. And that's basically it. The back end then, so this is a very, very simple little table, one table in a database with just the ticket number, ticket created, title, primary resource, and then spits out the data just in this format. So it's not a huge amount of data, ticket number, date, what was going on, which engineer was involved. So I can just then export that, and then I can just look at these tickets. I can just pick a sample set and go, well, was this particular one approved correctly? Yes, no. If not, I can speak to the relevant engineer, and I can then do some tracking over time as to, you know, whether those approvals are improving, becoming more consistent, or otherwise. And that is more or less it. I do have a couple of ideas of other things I'd like to use it for. So at some point, I'd like to develop it so that I can capture tickets that are likely to need approval, but maybe didn't pass through that status, to try and catch any outliers. So I would probably add another, I would add a further test in here to include the type. So I know what types of tickets probably need approvals, like passwords and things. So there's that. And I want to capture the types, the categories of the ticket, so I can tell what kinds of tickets are generating the most approvals, because they are probably good candidates for automating it and getting Rewst to send out the approval to the user automatically. And I want to also put a form front end on it so that I can talk back to that database from a Rewst form and say, give me all the examples from June or July or whatever, so I can do a spot check. And yes, so yeah, it was
just
quite
just those things, Leia.
Yeah, just a couple. Well, do you know what the interesting thing is? The more I fine-tuned this, the more I thought, oh, I could make it bigger, and I could get to do this as well, and this as well, and this as well. And it was like they kind of, you start generating new ideas out of it.
Yeah, and that's the way to do it, right? Start small and you could have those quick wins and find those successes, and with that will come confidence and inspiration to dive deeper and add things on or redo things, you know. With regards to kind of, you know, waking up your database, a few other people in the chat there have given some recommendations for maybe some things you could consider, and some other people as well, just saying, yeah, they've got to wake stuff up too. So definitely some conversation you've generated in the chat there. Feel free to take a peek before you leave us. But yeah, thanks. You can stop sharing your screen now, Leia. I'm going to take over, and we're going to move to our Rewst updates. And starting off, we have our product update, but everyone's favorite Canadian, Mr. Daniel, is not with us today, but I have a new face to introduce you to in Sarah. Sarah, hello, welcome to the EU Open Mic.
Hello, you're so polite to me in front of other people, George.
I know, it's fun.
So
yeah,
nice.
I have a mask that I have to wear in public, so we'll speak after this, Sarah. Don't you worry.
Yeah, and we're not going to say anything. We're not going to say anything bad about Daniel on this call because he's my boss. So it's
Right.
another role.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to. I won't, but other people can feel free to say what they wish.
I'm
Sarah,
happy
just
to get in on that, George. I'm happy to get in on that.
we go. Pizza's here too, so he'll speak on behalf of everyone. Sarah, just by way of a quick intro, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do at Rewst? How do you help Daniel?
Yeah. Well, I'm constantly saving Daniels behind. I'll start with that. Who am I? I am a product manager here at Rewst. I've been here for less than a year. I am one of, let's see, there's now 4 PMs who report into Daniel, and we all work under Frank, who I think led last month's product update on this call. So y'all might have met him. And I am located in Raleigh, North Carolina. But I consider myself a New Yorker because that's where I spent most of my life. So if that makes it better. Yeah.
Awesome.
And yeah.
Go ahead. I'm gonna get your slide.
Do you want to
real quick? I can drive.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, these are pretty quick updates. So if you just head over to there we go. Perfect. So some quick updates for you here from a product perspective. Suborgs inheriting support access. Just some context here. In the past, newly created suborgs were not inheriting support access. Now, if you've granted support access and you happen to create a new suborg, in the future, at some point, that suborg will simply inherit support access without issue. So made that fix, which is a nice quality of life thing. The second one here, Rewst integration in quotes. This is a new workflow action. Basically, it helps automate Microsoft CSP customer management. So I think this is especially valuable for larger MSPs managing hundreds or maybe even thousands of clients in Microsoft. We're basically exposing Rewst's internal linking mechanism via workflow action. So that's why you see the quotations. It's not your standard integration. It's kind of like an internal API surfaced for automation. So just more context there. Previously linking a Microsoft CSP customer to Rewst orgs could only be done manually through the Microsoft Cloud Bundle settings page, but we have changed that. We have made it better. And so, yeah, this action just enables customers to automate onboarding and customer management at scale, essentially. One note, this new functionality does not allow automation of the consent of CSP customers. We get that question a lot. That's a separate scope of work, but the team is aware of that. This last item under newly released, just a small thing, well, helpful thing. We had an issue handling Unicode characters, specifically the Unicode null character, I believe, and that would cause workflows to crash. So this is fixed, no longer an issue. Okay, moving on to what is coming. So I think that y'all have heard a lot about, the innovations around RoboRewsty. I think Daniel showed you some of this in July. By the way, we do have Pizza on this call. I'm going to shout him out because Pizza is the developer, and I don't know if you all have met him, but maybe I'll let him introduce himself real quick. He is the mastermind behind a lot of the newest AI features that are coming out very soon. So I want to let Pizza introduce himself real quick.
Yeah, no. Hi everybody. I'm Jordan. Everyone calls me Pizza. It's a lot easier to remember. But I am the lead dev on a lot of the new AI features. But I also like to say I made some of your favorite and least favorite parts of the platform. Things like custom integrations v2, version control, multiplayer. Things like that are some of my greatest hits, as I call them. So I'm happy to, help out. This is my first EU open mic I'm coming on. We're, actually, yep, JowerShell too. That is another one, although I like to forget that one. Just here to kind of add some support behind Sarah as she shows off some of the new features.
Cool. I'm going to share my screen, and Pizza will attest this. By the way, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, all good, Sarah.
Okay, cool. Pizza will attest to this. I have not played around with this, so this is live and fun, and who knows what's going to happen. Let me just make this a little larger here. Okay, cool. First thing first, going back to sort of our general AI suite, like the features that are coming out, what we're shipping at a high level over the next few months is really enabling our in-platform assistant, RoboRewsty, just to understand your environment and support you better as you build. This isn't just slapping AI into places that don't need it. This is truly supporting you and giving you things like context-aware assistance, environment-specific guidance, et cetera. So just showing you a couple of things here. And I think Daniel showed you a video of this in July, but this is, again, more of a live demo. So Chat with Docs is one of the features that's slated to come out at the end of this month, at least in beta. If not, I'm not sure. I'm going to promise beta. So let's go with that.
So
and maybe Daniel will kill me.
To clarify, I did post the actual formal dates in the chat. That is the slide that we posted at Flow. Chat with Docs.
Sweet.
Some of the other features we're showing off today will be available hopefully by the end of the month. But if Sarah says anything, we'll be sure to pull out the cane real quick. No worries.
Totally. And we'll blame Daniel because, like, why not?
We'll make Daniel ship it. No worries.
Yeah, 100%. So you'll be able to, what is Chat with Docs? You'll be able to essentially ask RoboRewsty questions about the platform and get answers backed by our documentation, and instead of having to toggle to our documentation and search for things. So what does the change a user's password crate do? For example, let's see how that goes. And here we go. So you just get, plain English language answer. And the cool thing is it also sources it. So you're able to click in and go straight to the documentation. So that's Chat with Docs. Important note is that RoboRewsty is context aware. That's a huge benefit of this. Actually, let's go to, So like a good example of this in the form of a feature is the workflow results analysis feature, which is also slated to come out at the end of the month. Essentially, RoboRewsty knows what workflow you're currently on, or in, I should say. So for example, and like, I don't know, I don't even know if this will work, Pizza. Let's see. Tell me about.
Honestly, actually, I'll do you one better, Sarah. I mean, that's a perfect question, and it will actually go ahead and grab contextual information about your workflow, things like the workflow tasks, the notes, any triggers that are available on the workflow. It can actually pull in additional information and things like that, and actually interact with your workflow as it stands, right?
Very cool.
So you can see here it actually went through, grabbed information about the workflow, told us about it, everything like that. So actually, if you go to the results page for just kind of a workflow that ran, Sarah, we can actually show them kind of what you're talking about in terms of results analysis.
Shoot. One sec.
All good. But yeah,
Sorry.
so to kind of fill in some of the blanks around what Sarah was showing off, we essentially have created a way for us to index our documentation and then provide that in a way that the LLM or AI can access, right? I see in the chat, so if I ask it to add another action on a transition, we'll get there. That is actually slated for the end of the year. That's one of our Q4 initiatives. Oh, it looks like Sarah might be having some trouble with her environment. I might, if I want to share, and I'm more than happy to, I might need to drop and re-add real quick. But I'm more than happy to kind of pick up if needed. But do we have any questions so far?
Yeah, sorry, while I'm trying to get this up and running. Oop. Any questions on that, guys?
Give me 1 sec. I'll actually join and what's his name? I'll share my screen and we'll continue.
Perfect. Oop. While Pizza is rejoining, so those are the two features that were listed on the slide that George was sharing. There is definitely more to come, and likely more to come at the end of September. If anyone is interested in beta testing any of this, we would love to hear from you. This will be sort of a closed beta. It's not, I know Rewst sometimes does these like large open betas, but Clea, I think it is only referencing the doc site, but we'll get Pizza to confirm. But yeah, if you're interested in, and I see that at least one person is, please come chat with me. Go ahead, Pizza.
Give me 1 sec, and I will go ahead and share my screen. All right, so apologies, I am still setting up my new MacBook, so you might see some hiccups. But let me go ahead and pick up where Sarah left off. So we just talked about our chat with docs feature. So that means you can ask it things like, what is a crate? And I know I saw somebody ask, it's not indexing Cluck University, correct? It's not. When that was part of our docs, it did, but unfortunately when that was removed, we lost that and we kind of have to re-add that. But it is indexing our full documentation as it exists today. And any updates that we make, we'll be able to pull in. And like Sarah showed off, it goes ahead and links you to any of the sources that it's able to pull in. But more than that, RoboRewsty is not just contextually aware of where you are within the application. It has access to resources that you yourself has access to. It is essentially acting as you, as your agent. So for example, if I say, list my workflows, it's going to go ahead and try to grab a list of my workflows and tell me about them. The way that it's able to do this is actually through our MCP server. And if you're not familiar with MCP, it stands for Model Context Protocol. It's a new standard developed by Anthropic that allows chatbots essentially a standardized way to access APIs. Think of it like a USB-C between LLMs and services. And that's kind of what it allows. It allows data transfer and stuff like that. So you can see here, we got a list of a couple of different things around different workflows and things that we have available. Like we showed off just a second ago, if I come into something like, we'll just create a new workflow. Oh, probably did too fast. So you can see here, I'll just add like a random action. Man, I am going way too fast today. So apologies in advance. Oh, it's probably Brave, unfortunately. This is probably the issue. There you go. Tell me about this workflow. So it will go ahead and be able to actually have the live context about the workflow. So I know we just saved a workflow. So if we do something like, wait for it to finish and come back and we'll just add another action, but we won't save. So the version that exists only exists currently within our browser. And I will say, tell me about the actions on this workflow and add a note explaining them both. So it's going to go ahead and grab the live context of the workflow, search the actions that it's actually talking about. And you can see that it's actually able to interact with the workflow builder. It created a note on our workflow. And then it's going to go ahead and kind of finish up and tell us about what happened and everything like that. Go ahead and just see what it said. You can see that it just kind of explains everything about the workflow, tasks that we added here and what they do and everything like that. But I think in a similar vein, right, if we go to say a much more complex workflow, we'll do something like this. This is definitely a complex workflow. Now, heads up, this is a large workflow, so we might see some context issues as we kind of figure that whole thing out. But, nothing like a stress test. Let's show off one of our new features. So this is another feature that should be in your hands by the end of September. If not, then you're, feel free to, stake Daniel or something like that, go after him, not us.
And note that Daniel did not put this on the slide. So this is Pizza just doing his thing, but that's fine.
This is me showing off what Daniel should put on the slide. Yes. This is one of the features we're trying to get out by the end of September. As it stands right now, if you're not aware, you're able to do a note and then have RoboRewsty actually kind of fill that out on a note-by-note basis, right? What we're hoping to solve here outside of just that is, do we want to just have to create the notes every time and then have RoboRewsty fill it? Why not have RoboRewsty document the entire workflow? And that's exactly what this agent is designed to do. It's designed to go through, grab information about the workflow, and create a number of different documentation notes to essentially explain how the workflow works and why it's doing what it's doing. Now, there's a lot of workflow tasks here, so it might be something where larger workflows are definitely going to take more time than smaller workflows. And depending on what you're wanting, you can always edit it with the chat later. You can have it update the actual content of the notes and everything like that. So we'll kind of give it a second, let it do its thing. Currently, we're using Anthropic for our backend models. We're moving to AWS Bedrock hosting for that here shortly. Any questions I can answer while this is kind of doing its thing?
Nothing in the chat at the minute, Pizza. We're just loving having you on to give us sneak peeks at stuff that's usually under lock and key. Lewis, you got your hand up there.
Yeah, I guess obviously RoboRewsty is going to be like super feature rich. Where do you think customers can, I guess, go to RoboRewsty to get the most value out of it? What's going to be like the biggest hitter in your opinion?
Well, I think that there's going to be a number of features coming later this year that I think you guys are going to be really excited for. Things like actually building workflows using, you know, the RoboRewsty chat and being able to kind of manipulate and change your workflows and build with an AI agent. That's the big kahuna. That's the thing everyone's really, really excited for. But I think that the major wins that we're looking at kind of solving here. Oh, it looks like it might be having some issues as it spends longer and longer on this large workflow. But we'll go ahead and cancel that. Nothing too crazy. You can kind of see some of the workflow tasks that it went ahead and created. This is a test workflow, so I wouldn't expect it to be able to create very helpful documentation anyway. But the idea here is if there is a place that you're not seeing AI, for example, and maybe it would provide some additional value, that's where we want it to be. So for example, we're going to have a better UI coming for better UI coming for this later this year. But for example, since RoboRewsty is contextually aware, we can ask, for example, why did this workflow fail? And I know I saw someone put their hand up, so get to you in just a second. So you can see it went ahead and grabbed the details about a workflow execution. It's going to grab the task logs. And it should give us a small summary about why it failed. The reason it failed at the end of the day is that there's no tasks on the workflow. And you can see workflow definition failed inspection, workflow must contain at least one task. So it gives us a small solution and everything like that. So that's the kind of flow things that we're hoping you get out of this. It's not necessarily about sticking AI in the product simply to add AI to our domain name and sell out kind of thing. It's about providing a meaningful efficiency boost to your workflow, and I'm not just talking about the ones you build. But that being said, we have given it access to a number of different key resources, and it's worth noting with the release in September, we're hoping to get out our external MCP server, which will allow you to connect Rewst to any chatbot that you want. So for example, if you have your own Claude desktop account, if you've messed with MCP servers in the past, you'll be able to actually authenticate with Rewst and trigger workflows, and that's something we actually haven't shown. But this is kind of another thing that's hopefully going to come out by the end of the month. I'm not exactly sure what the formal plan is, but for example, we can say, what workflows can you run? And we've essentially created a way for RoboRewsty to execute workflows. So let's say run it, any input will do.
By the way, Pizza, George might be giving us a time check since we've hijacked this call.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
I was going to make sure there was just a couple of questions in the chat there, Pizza. Kevin was asking, number one, can it be used to code refactor? And then Sven also wanted to know if it can update current notes automatically, so it'll stay up to date.
So it has the ability, so two questions there. I know there was, it can't do code refactoring yet. That will probably be later this year. And to answer the note question, it has the ability to access and manipulate notes. If you're talking about the auto documentation agent, yes, it is specifically told to create notes rather than update them, just because we don't want it to kind of go off the rails and change everything for you. But you know, if you're looking for kind of finer tuned edits, you can always open up the chat window and ask it to perform edits, and it's able to kind of do that. We have a fix going out that'll actually allow it to manipulate things like the color, background images, things like that as well. But I'll go ahead and give you your call back, George. I apologize.
No, thanks.
Any other further questions
I didn't want to.
can-
I think this is what people are super interested in, right? So, folks on the call, maybe if you've enjoyed Pizza hijacking the call, you know, drop some love in the comments or give it a little reaction. That way, we know for future calls. If you see on Discord, hey guys, Pizza's going to be on this call and Daniel's not, you kind of know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, what that means, right? So be sure to attend in person. But yeah, we do have a couple of other updates to kind of get through from other departments. So next up is JP from the marketplace, who's got some new and interesting updates on all things crates. JP, do you want me to share the slides for you here, or have you got them?
You can, yeah. I wouldn't promise anything, George. Interesting. I don't know. I'll leave that for the folks to decide. Basically, the slide just lists out the crates that I'm going to talk about. Yep, there you go. Very exciting. Now we're going to go over the crates real quick. I'm going to share out my screen, and we'll talk about them real quick, what they do, and how you might use them. All right, so we have 2 new crates this month. We did an account password rotation crate. This is something that was built several times over, so we just created it up, and works pretty well. The basic idea is that you go in, you set it up for an organization, and you set certain accounts that you want to rotate. For example, certain administrative accounts or service accounts, and it's going to go in. It's meant to be run on like a cron job, and goes in either through 365 or on-premise domain. It will rotate those account passwords and store them either in IT Glue or Hoodoo. That's the basic premise of it. There are plans to do something like this, again, something that's been built several times internally that we're going to turn into a crate. It's basically going to be for generating individual computer level passwords that are similarly rotated and documented in the documentation platforms. So you can grab this one in the marketplace and try it out and let us know what you think of it. The other one that was built was kind of Autotask specific. So if you don't use Autotask, I'm sorry. But I think ConnectWise just does it out of the box. But the basic premise of it is that you have configurations like this one that are generated from your RMM tool, and they come in without a contact associated with that particular configuration, and you have a contact, and it does for that user. It does contact matching based on the account name and email address of the contact, and it will go through. We'll go ahead and run this script. Here's the workflow. You just run it, and it's going to do its thing. But you have your configuration item here. You can see that it's for a user called owner, and you have a blank contact field. Your workflow runs, and this worked like 2 seconds ago. let's rerun it and see if it was just a Autotask related issue or something like that. I guess configuration items for some reason don't run unauthorized. I would assume that's some sort of API key issue. Unfortunate, but the idea is that it populates, under the configuration item, it attaches the corresponding contact. So fortunately, some sort of issue with, I guess, the integration between now and an hour ago, but that's the general idea. So those are the 2 new crates that we released this month. And if you have any questions about those or feedback, we'd love to hear them.
Thanks, JP. Yeah, definitely Autotask, I think, for sure. Classic. All right, next up, Clea. Hello. How are you?
Yo, bonjour, guten Morgen. Hi to all my European friends.
What's going on in the world of education?
Well, I am coming back online brain-wise and computer-wise from 2-ish weeks of vacation. So thanks to my team for holding down the fort. We do have some updates, so I'll share those on my screen here, drop some links in the chat, and then I'll see if there's any open questions. New courses include ROI with Rewst and Troubleshooting in Rewst. I'd love to see raised hands or any reactions in the chat if folks have taken those, or maybe some surprise reactions if you're like, what the heck are you talking about? I didn't know these things exist. I'll show you where to find them in the LMS shortly. Learning management system, that is. There is also a new feature. So it used to be that if you wanted to take a certain course, you'd have to register. And then, like me, you'd probably forget 5 minutes later. There's a new way to save courses and find those in a little saved list in your profile. So I'll show you that. In terms of our certificate track training, I think everyone knows that is Rewst Foundations and Clean Automation. We do run monthly sessions of those live with the legendary instructor, Eddie Chow. And we have self-paced versions that are a little bit different, right? Like Eddie adds something special. So if you are in a European time zone and you're like, I wish I could just attend and get the Eddie goodies, but you can't, just email us. We would be happy to send you a recent recording from the sessions and follow up with you through Discord chat if there is any place you'd like to go deeper. And then for shout outs, I don't really have a great way to identify who all has earned certificates recently from Rewst Foundations or Clean Automation that is located in Europe, but you can check our training pages on the documentation site anytime. For example, here is the latest. You might find your name up here. And if you would like to get your name on that list, what are you waiting for? Go take those certifications. So here I am in Clea University. In the Keep Learning section, you can see our new courses, Troubleshooting with Rewst and ROI with Rewst. I'll just drop a link to the homepage here in the chat so we don't go link happy. Find everything there. For troubleshooting, I'm not yet registered. I want to take this course. I can save it to my list. Oops, got to sign in. Let's hope this works. Yeah, sweet. So troubleshooting in Rewst. Oh, I guess I already completed it, but I could save it to my list. If you go to your profile, you can see your saved list at the top right there. You can see any learning paths that you're currently enrolled in and all the stuff that you've registered for and either completed or forgotten about in that list below. Any certificates that you earn are visible through here as well. Them to your LinkedIn profile. I think that's mostly everything that I wanted to cover. I will give an extra special plug for troubleshooting because you don't necessarily have to wait for something to be broken to take that course. It is really an awesome course just to help you understand like what is happening in Rewst, what organizations are running automations, where are certain tasks working or failing, how can you check the data throughout. So really awesome course for a foundational understanding.
And it's
and let me know
minutes.
if you have any questions.
Yeah, only 40 minutes. I just wanted to circle back with the ROI course as well, Clea. I know that's something a lot of partners have been asking about. It's a common question for new partners as well. Is that something that you'd recommend builders taking, business owners? Maybe you could just tell us a little bit more about what that explores.
Yeah, great question. So the ROI with Rewst course was specifically designed for a certain type of user. This might be you that I'm describing, or it might not be. But let's say that you are kind of a one-man shop or a one-woman shop, one-person shop at your MSP. You need to get up and running with Rewst quickly. You might not be a technical builder yourself, like you may be more of that business leader. This course is designed to help you learn enough through building a simple workflow that gets you some reporting data for billing reconciliation. So kind of recommended for anyone who wants to learn how to build in Rewst, or if you're like me and you're like, well, I really don't want to build in Rewst, but I'm going to have to because there's no one else. Take it and you'll get step-by-step guidance that explains what you're doing and why along the way. So I took it, I overcame my reluctance. Highly recommend it for anyone else and would love any feedback on it.
Awesome. Thanks, Clea. Yeah, check out those courses, guys. With only 3 minutes left, I'm going to offer sincere apologies to both Adam and Paul, who had some stuff they were going to show us today, but I don't want either of you guys to obviously feel rushed with only 90 seconds between you. So hopefully we can just move you guys forward to the next open mic. But yeah, apologies about that. But yeah, getting some sneak peek stuff at RoboRewsty that no one else has seen. Hopefully you guys appreciated that, but I do appreciate Paul and Adam putting their names up for this session. I'll get you guys coordinated for the next one, so apologies about that. The other last thing I'll drop in before we leave is just my booking link. If at any time, guys, maybe this monthly call doesn't work for you, maybe you have something cool that you just want to show, or maybe you just want your hands on some Rewst swag, you can use that calendar link to book a time with me that works. And what we do on that call is very similar to the demos that we do here on a monthly call. I just polish it up and make it a little bit more succinct for use on social media. It's a great way for you guys as an MSP to highlight some of the things that you're doing. We give you a copy of the video we posted on social media. We tag you as an individual if you want to look good to your colleagues and bosses. We tag your company as well to give you guys a little bit more audience on LinkedIn. So please feel free to book that. Book some time with me and I'll send you some swag as well. But that's us for time. Thanks for everyone who joined us live. And as Peter mentioned, if any of you guys have more questions about RoboRewsty, and as Sarah mentioned as well, if you're interested in the open beta testing, just shoot us a message on Discord. We're all on there, and we'd love to kind of get people lined up for when that beta is available. But that's it from me. Thanks so much to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a safe and happy weekend. Cheerio.
Meow. Meow. Bye-bye.
Yeah.